presented us a very clear and complete idea of how to work with the fascia. And as Rolfing is working with the fascia and with gravity, I'm going to speak more about the other part of the story, which is about how to work with gravity. In this room here, twice a week, I give Rolfing movement classes. And a lot of my clients are interested to come to those classes because even if they feel better, they notice that in their daily lives, there are some habits that come back and they need to know. They need to know more about themselves, how to deal with it. And there is also this whole story about gravity. You know, what do we do with gravity? And all the time we fight. We fight against it. We have a will, we need to do this, we need to do that. And so we don't know how to handle this gravity factor. Actually, I have a lot of clients who are even teachers, yoga teachers, Pilates teachers, who injure themselves sometimes. And so the question is how to work with your own organism, your own system, so that you can listen enough that you don't injure yourself by will, by wanting to achieve something and so on. I guess you probably all know what I'm talking about because it's part of our human nature to want to achieve things. So the idea today is to speak about the spine, but it's a bit like a Rolfing session. You don't just look at the spine, you look at the whole of the person. What I've noticed recently, and I don't know if it's because of COVID or not, but I have a lot of people who have sciatic pain. And originally, I wanted to do a presentation to you with some torsion in the spine, but I realized that in my classes, there's no way I can do that right now because with the sciatic pain, usually rotation happens in places where we don't want for it to happen, and there is not a stabilization which is refined enough for each vertebrae that the person can do a movement of torsion without ruining themselves or without actually creating the pain. What I've noticed also that has been very interesting lately, I notice it more and more, is that when I see sciatic pain, I usually see a torsion in the pelvis, very last lumbars, but if you follow up, I often see the torsion in the face. Not that there is a structural issue in the face, but there is really often a person shows one side of the face more than another side of the face, or anyway, just to resume that this torsion is going all the way up. So my approach today will be to look at the spine and to decompress the spine from above, from below, then actually finding how to work with two directions in the spine, and then finally to address the ribs. Because the thing also with the spine, we forget about it. It's also something that I learned in osteopathy, is that very often when you have an issue in the spine, you have a rib that is fixed or a couple of ribs that are fixed. And it's very interesting to see that with our third hour lateral line work, we start to address those problems with the ribs. And as we address those problems with the ribs, the client starts to feel more mobility in the chest, so that actually the spine has more option then to also be more free. So I will present you a little bit like what I do in my general classes. I do classes of 1 hour and 15 minutes, and we do 4 or 5 exercises. What is fundamental for me with my clients, and I think it's also a little bit different than some approaches, that I really like to take the time to know how people are doing, what's happening to them in general, and what's happening to them in the day they are coming. Because with that information, I can build my class around what is happening today, because every day is a different day. So to resume in these exercises, first, what I will bring is I don't really like the word relaxation, but it is about relaxing. The idea of relaxation is that it starts to give new references to the system. And that's going to be really important to prepare the movement work that we are going to do in a way that we don't resist gravity, but we work with gravity. So the first exercise, we will be lying down, and you will have to roll a blanket like this to put under your spine. So just like a big sausage about the size of your spine. And also to put a chair so that you can actually put your calves over the chair so that you can really let go of your legs. The legs are not so fast to let go. I will show you just in the mat the different situation we will find ourselves in, so that then once you are lying down, you don't need to look again and again. So I will place the screen in order for you to look at how I placed the thing. So can you hear me from here? Fine?
Yes, it's fine.
Good. So the first exercise will be about allowing the calves to let go into the chair and to have some kind of reference for your spine so that you know where you can let go from. So that's for the first exercise. The second one, we will remove the chair. You can remove the blanket also, and we will this time have our feet about the width of our hip, and we will work with the lumbar spine and to create curve, to allow the curve to let go, to find weight on the feet. Anyway, I will go into detail with that. I'm not going to do that now, but I just want to show you the positions. And then the next exercise, we will work with the head and the curve of the neck. So we are addressing the two functional curves of the spine. The exercise that will come after, we will address the dorsal spine. And in order to do that, I will ask you to get on four legs and on your forearms this way, in order to allow the spine to really rest like a hammock. And from that position, we will also trigger a very gentle and subtle movement, and then we'll add the head. And for the head, it is so important because we are missing some kind of orientation above the head. Like the African women, when they are carrying their jar with food or water, they have that vector up. We're missing that vector up. So there's an exercise here that I would like to introduce to you, which will actually increase the awareness of that vector. So it will be about bringing the forehead on the mattress itself, with the hands a little bit in front, and then to push from the legs to let the head roll, and then to push from the head all the way so that the head rolls. And so we can see that with that movement, we start to have a movement in the dorsal spine. So as you are doing those exercises, I'm going to just talk about it, and you will do the exercise, and I will try to follow how you are doing it on your mat. It's great if I can somehow see you a little bit so that I can add things as I am seeing things. I cannot see all of you, but I can see some of you, which is already great. Yeah, so that very first part is fundamental because it's the moment where you start to surrender in a way. It's a surrendering to gravity. It's not a doing, it's a surrendering. And this is a very delicate moment. It's a moment where you can be with yourself in a way that we are not necessarily encouraged to be, except when we go to sleep. But then we're just alone with it. So it's just a moment for yourself where you start to allow yourself to feel your weight, the weight of your arms, the weight of your legs, the weight of your head. Find an angle for your head and for your cervical spine so that you can have a slight curve. So in order to have it, maybe you want to bring the chin slightly more up and then to allow the jaw to let go. You have to find something that is really comfortable for yourself. If you feel that the dorsal spine is like a block, it's better to put a cushion or just a blanket behind the head so that there is no interruption between the dorsal spine and the cervical spine and the head. Yeah, so take your time to feel the blanket which is behind your spine. Feel how it is contacting your spine, or how is your spine meeting that blanket. Just notice for a moment, how is your breathing? Can you actually let go of the exhale? Is it possible to feel that the touch of the floor, the contact with the floor, is a sort of a dialogue so that you are joining the floor and the floor is joining you? In your senses, sometimes one helps more than the other. And maybe you notice that there are a lot of sensations going through your body. There are a lot of little things happening that draw your attention, and then it lets go and it goes somewhere else. Maybe you have some thoughts that are there again and again. Yeah, if some people feel that their lumbars is so curved that they need to put a blanket under the lumbars in a transversal way. So that can be done also. It really depends on what is necessary for each of you. So here we notice that there is something that is so important for us as Rolfers. There is something which has to do with the attitude. What attitude do we have with gravity? What attitude do we have with ourselves? What attitude do we have with the ground right now, or with the room we are in, or with the people outside the room? You know, all of this. And just to let us be, let us rest, find a moment of maybe peace, but not necessarily, you have to see. Definitely a deceleration, a slowing down. And as you are slowing down, maybe you feel your breath with more ease. Is it more easy to exhale, more easy to inhale? And you want to open your nostrils so that the air is welcomed in your system, so that you don't have to look for the air, but you have an inclination of your head that just allows the nostrils to open and dilate to the air coming in. It's like life is in the air. So you don't have to look for it, it's there. It's all around you. There's plenty of air. So it's more about finding the way for you to welcome that air instead of fighting for that air. And you might notice that there is a very slight activity in your spine as you inhale. You know, we know of the activity of the diaphragm, of the scalenus. We know less about the activity of the multifidi in the spine, but it's a very refined activity where you feel that these tiny, tiny little muscles there are actually working when you are inhaling. They are turning your spine, and the iliocostalis is also slightly turning your ribs. But it's so important for those muscles to feel that they are supported from underneath, to feel that there is this blanket to really carry your whole weight. Okay, now we will go to the second exercise. So I would like you to remove the chair and to remove the blanket and to find a similar position, but this time with your knees up. And to be sure not to slide, if you have socks, it's better to take the socks away, or you put your feet over the mattress so that you don't slide. And this letting go that we were experiencing through the calf, now we will take time to feel each of our feet. It's very important that your feet are not too close to your pelvis. Somehow the thighs need to rest into the hip socket and the lower leg needs to rest into the foot. So the angle needs to be open enough that you can find that distinction. The feet are at the width of your hip joint so that you feel that if you have to transmit some weight into the feet themselves, that there is a sort of a two tracks. But for the time being, I would like you just to feel how huge your feet are on the ground. And it takes a little time because in the beginning, we feel maybe just some part of the foot, the outer or the inner or the heel or the toes or the ball of the foot. So I would like you to take some time to feel the complete plantar fascia, the complete foot, the dimension of the flesh of your feet, the space. You can almost imagine a space between the skin of your foot and the mattress or the ground, so that within that space there is aliveness, there is contact, there is sharing, what we call the haptic in our language, Rolfing movement language, the haptic. So in the haptic there is this notion of exploring with the tact. We have that with our hands as Rolfers. It's really important that we can find also that with our feet, with the ground. It's a way to meet the ground. It's a way to be with the ground. And unless we have that contact, it's very hard to let go. So you can imagine that you have huge elephant feet or gorillas, whatever. Also notice how the ground is solid beneath, underneath your feet and underneath your spine, underneath your head. There is a solid ground there that is just welcoming you. Okay, so now we're going to go into the activation part of the exercise. So The whole question here with the pre-movement is how are we going to activate our system? So I would like you to feel your lumbars, the curve of your lumbars, just to notice whether the curve is very accentuated or whether it's flat or whether it's painful or whether it's smooth, soft. And I would like you, without thinking how, but as if you were in water, just to allow your spine to, lower spine to come up towards the ceiling, as if you were slightly arcing your lumbars, but not with that wheel, but just as if you were floating in water up. And then allowing it to rest down a little bit like a leaf in the fall that finds its way down into the ground. And one more time, you come up, you arch your lower back, you feel which vertebrae is coming first. Maybe there is 2, 3 vertebrae coming at the same time. It's okay, you just notice. And then again, you just surrender. You just feel, okay, gravity is doing the work of letting my spine coming back into the floor. I don't have to do that. I'm just allowing this to happen. Okay, now we are going to do it in a reverse way. So this time I will ask you to put 3 grams in each of your feet and to actually press into the ground and to allow your knees to go away from your pelvis. Feel that your coccyx is going away from your sacrum, if we can say so. Your sacrum is going to follow vertebrae by vertebrae of the sacrum, and your pelvis is going to rock. It's called the pelvic rock exercise. It's a very old Rolfing movement exercise. So you go up to where it's comfortable. Of course, you could go up all the way to C7, but it's not necessary for now. You just go up with the lumbar spine, maybe with the last dorsal spine, and then you allow the dorsal spine to rest, the first lumbar to rest, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the base of the sacrum, each vertebrae of the sacrum, and finally the coccyx. So if you have someone who's, for instance, just gave birth and had some tearing in the perineum, of course, you could add into that exercise a very slight aspiration of the area of the vagina. So just to not tighten, I don't like the word, but aspiration in, and you will see that you start to increase the tone of the transverse muscle. If you want to feel the tone of the transverse muscle, you can just put your hands on both sides of your iliac crest and go a little bit underneath of the anterior, inferior iliac crest, a little bit underneath and a little bit inside the abdominal. And you really feel what happens when you start to have this aspiration of the vagina. So for the men, or what you will do is feel that the scrotum is slightly coming up. And then you let it go as you go down each vertebrae by vertebrae. So what we are doing here is we are activating some very deep muscles of our spine, the multifidi and the transverses. And you can decide how far you want to go with the transverses. Of course, what I want to try to avoid is a full contraction of all the abdominals here. Okay, so we'll go now to the next exercise. which will be with the cervical spine. So you need to take a blanket under your head, but the blanket needs to slide on the floor. So maybe bring the blanket off the mat so that the blanket itself can really slide in the ground. Usually in my class, I have people walk in between all the exercises, but with you, we will just do the whole series like that, and we'll stand up at the very end. Okay, so I see that some are still trying to find a way to place themselves, so I'm waiting a little bit for the one who are lying. Just rest, just give yourself the time to rest, and especially the jaw. And I would like you, once you rest, to really slowly bring the chin up towards the ceiling. And you will feel that your head is rolling with the blanket on the floor. So you need, in order to feel that, you need to let the weight of your head really come into the floor. Otherwise, you move your head over the blanket, but the blanket is not sliding on the floor. So it's really, again, a question of finding the weight of your head. You can also imagine that your eyes are resting into your ears, and that within your ears, you have all these little otolites that are sliding over the gelatinous part of the inner ear, which has plenty of little hair that are stimulated by it. So once you have moved your chin up towards the ceiling, you feel that your head is resting into a new place in the ground, more above than what you are used to. So find that new place and let the weight slowly come into that place and feel that the weight is starting to rest down. A little bit like sand in sablier. I don't know how we say that in English. And so as the sand is going away, or as your weight is reaching the ground or accepted by the ground, feel that your head is slightly turning back into your initial position. So again, the whole question is how to do that without having a strong will. So we will do it one more time. So you bring your chin up towards the ceiling. You feel that new place where your head is. You allow the jaw to let go. You allow your eyes to rest into your ears. And this time you will press 3 grams of pressure into your head to actually bring your head back down, but without shortening the throat, without shortening the front muscles of the throat. Okay, and you can repeat that one more time at your own rhythm to bring the chin up, to allow the jaw to rest, to feel that spot on the back of your head where the weight is coming in, to give it a little bit more weight, 3 grams, and with that pressure to come back to your initial position, but without tightening the jaw, without shortening at the jaw level. And come back to a place which is not too much in flexion. So again, a place where you feel your nostrils can welcome the air in. Okay. So now I would like you to turn to the foreleg position. And I would like you to see if it's possible for you to rest onto your forearms. So it's a little bit an extreme position where you really allow your spine to hang like a hammock. And maybe you feel that there are some places that are not easy to let go. So what I would advise you first is to open the pelvic floor again, just to allow the coccyx to reach to the wall or to the ceiling, or so that your spine can start to rest. The second thing with the forearm is to really feel that your forearms are supported by the floor again. We're always going back to where can I let go by having sufficient support. So this time the whole forearm is giving you that possibilities to rest. Feel the palm of your hands also resting into the floor. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so now from that position, very slowly push with your forearms in order to go into the sitting position. But you do it by, reaching with your forearms into the floor and pushing so that you can come into sitting. And if you don't go all the way down, it doesn't matter. What is important is that you feel that very gentle lengthening of your spine. Yeah. And now to come back, this time you will feel the power of the contact of your lower leg to push yourself back into the foreleg position. So really feel how your lower leg is reaching down, pushing through the mat, through the floor to bring you back into the forelegs position again. And it's important as you do that, that you don't tighten the pelvic floor, especially at the coccyx. So in a way, the levator ani is always relaxed, always trying to open up. So you will push through your forearms in order to come into the sitting position. Yeah, and really feel how the whole of your fascia is taking in that opening. Yeah. And then again, to come back, allow your coccyx to reach back, to push through your legs. You need to stay in the forelegs position. I see some people standing, but you need to stay in the forelegs position. So you push through the lower legs in order to come back again in the forelegs position. Okay. Take a moment just to sit for yourself now, just to notice how you are sitting. How is your spine feeling? How is you breathing in general? Before we go to the last one in that position. Yeah. Okay, so now we will go back into the foreleg position, but this time you will bring the forehead on the mattress itself. So it's almost the space between your eyes. You try to bring that part in contact with the mattress. Your forearms need to be a little bit more extended in front of you. Yeah. Because of course we are going to find how to push and reach with the head and the legs, but we need to be sure that there's not too much pressure for the head. So there will be an initiation of the push with the forehead, but you need to find support with your lower arms so it's not too much. Okay, so first you push with your legs and you allow your head to rotate. So to accompany that, so it's going to rotate in. Yeah, and go not to it shouldn't hurt at all. It's more a stimulation, so you shouldn't create pain. But for sure, it's going to stimulate the dorsal spine and the upper dorsal spine. So now you slightly reach into the floor with your head, you push, and you slowly go again into the sitting, but it's really coming from your head. That's it. And again, now you push with your legs. Try to keep the pelvic floor open the whole time. The coccyx is really free the whole time. That's a challenge in the beginning, but then it comes. And again, now you push with your head. You feel the support of your forearms, and you really feel all the moments of the turn of the head, so that the dorsal spine is really accompanying that movement, full movement of the head. Sometimes we forget how much mobility we have in the neck. So you can do it one more time at your own rhythm. And we will come into standing. So just take a walk for yourself. Just notice how you are feeling. Mm-hmm. Okay, I will do the last exercise with you now, and I would like you to find a place on the wall. Maybe you can look at the screen for a moment. I don't think I succeed to be fully on the screen, but you can just have a look. I would like you to go as close as possible to the wall and to really feel that you can let go. And again, feel that now gravity can flow through your feet. This is an exercise that was shown to me by Laurent Cavana, who is a dancer and golfer in Annecy. And I was so grateful because I was trying to feel how we can push and reach with the wall, with the hand and with the feet. But he really showed me a very simple way to have both activated at the same time. So I'm very happy. So I don't think you can see my feet, but I will try to explain you what I'm doing with my feet. So, as you stand not too far from the wall, you will just let go of your head towards the wall. And as you do that, you feel that the arm is just hanging down. And as it's hanging down, the other arm is coming above your head on the wall. You try to feel the wall. If it's too difficult to feel the wall, then you can put it in front, more in front of you. But if you feel that it's okay, you can bring it slowly, little by little, above your head. And so you feel the whole opening of the lateral line from the elbow down to the foot. But what will really matter in this exercise is the contact that you have with the wall. So I would like you with your hand to rub the wall a little bit, to rub the wall so that you start to feel that your whole hand, again, the haptic, your whole hand is in contact with the wall. And now that you have that contact, you will push the wall away so that your whole body starts to arc. And you will feel that your weight is going into the lateral arch of that leg, of that hand and arm, which is up. So in order to come back, you will go from the lateral arch into the inner arch of the foot. And again, it brings you back to the wall. Again, you push the wall away. You feel your weight is going into the lateral arch of the foot. And now you go from the lateral arch into the inner arch of the foot. Yeah. So we will turn the other way around. I will show you my back. And again, we repeat the same thing. So first you go not too far from the wall. You allow your head to come to the side, towards the wall. You let the other hand come up above your head. And then again, you find that contact with your hand, that full contact with the wall. And you will push the wall away. Find your weight coming into the lateral part of your foot. And from there, to bring the weight into the medial arch of your foot, which will bring again your weight into your hand. And you repeat it one more time. And come back. Okay, and just take another walk. And notice how it is for yourself. Okay. You can come back in front of the screen. Yeah. If you have any question, I think we have time for 1 or 2 questions. If you want to say anything or write anything, because I think we're running late otherwise, but I would like you to know how this last exercise has been very efficient for people who have a very, the problem with the spine is that usually the lumbars and the cervical spine are paying for the amount of hypomobility there is in the dorsal spine. And I have found that this exercise is incredible to open the ribs and then to allow the dorsal spine to be more flexible. So what I usually do when I do the sequence in my courses is that I first do the one with the arm up, and then I do the spine, the reaching with the spine and the head afterwards, because something becomes more available. But here with the Zoom, it was more simple to do it like that.
Thank you, France, very much for your contribution, for letting us, for showing us your kitchen, which is your studio, but also for bringing us into this space into this slow space of Rolf movement, which in daily life we tend to forget, and also in this time, in this period in which we don't see each other, colleagues, Rolfers, it's so great to be in this space again. So thanks very much for offering us this slow space.
I want to add something, Marcel, to what you're saying, because it's very important to me. It is slow space, it's true. But once you have acquired that very deep stability in those very refined muscles of your spine, or in your anti-gravitatory muscles, as we can say, then you can go into fast movement. But I think first you need to have a deceleration. Once that your system has understood that, you can bring it to very fast movement. So I say that because I think it's very important not to limit Rolfing movement to slow movement. I think it's very important to get there, to get the new information going. But I think it's as important then to transmit it to fast movement, which is a different part of the brain, and it needs to be adapted as such. Just wanted to add that.
Very good to have this as an extra context. Many comments came thanking you, merci. Also comment by Kate, who writes, I gave birth 8 months ago, had an episiotomy, so a cut in my perineum, and that exercise with the legs bent really helped me. Thank you so much for that. I had a small bit of pain before. And there's a question by Kirsten who asks, I love the explorations, but I did not understand how far to come into sitting from the foreleg position when working with the head.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Again, the idea is not to reach the sitting position. The idea is to feel the opening, and you can feel all the fascia is opening. It's not again about creating pain, because as soon as the myotatic reflex is engaged, of course your muscles will try to tighten back. So you don't want to go that far. You want to go to the level where you feel it's moving, opening, but there is no pain.
And the last question by Ruxandra, what is the main focus on the last exercise? The foot, the sideline, everything?
Yeah, it's really interesting because it's definitely the sideline, and it's opening the sideline, and again, opening the sideline, open the ribs, opening the ribs, open also all this fascia which is connected to the ribs as well as the organs. So there is a lot there. Now, what is interesting with the 3rd hour, 4th hour, it's absolutely right, Ruxandra. It's like from the 3rd hour, where you have that opening, you go into the 4th hour, which is pressing through the medial arch, opening the medial line, and it brings you back. And it's really what is happening in the walking. There's really that moment where you actually have your weight on the lateral line, and then you move onto the front foot and to the toes through the middle arch.
And well, we can just take this last question, I think, by Sabine. In the four-legged position, the first exercise, was the head on the ground or not?
No, the first one, no, because just to feel that the spine can hang already is a lot. For many people, it's a lot. And just to feel that comfort. And then the piece with the head comes after that, because it's really a refinement of feeling that the head can turn, and that especially this part of the thoracic spine can start to move from front and back, which is very not easy to find. So first, a very general relaxation and opening of the front of the spine, and then more. The interesting part again with the head is to find the reach and the push of the head. That's why our 7th session is coming at the end. It's because once everything can move, you can find that vector with the head, which finally, frees up the system.
And I think here we also have a bridge with the next lecture by Jörg, who is going to talk about ground and space orientation.